Hey guys, Teresa with IRG here. We've had a lot of questions about the programs that we use to do our video analysis for investigations and review and experiments. So I wanted to take a few minutes to show you a couple of the programs that we use. But before I get started, let me first mention that this video is not under any circumstances intended to talk about the potential paranormality of the videos you're going to be seeing. If you want to make comments about the anomalies that you see in the video or anything that you see in the videos, please go to our Facebook page or our website, which I will provide in the description, and you can make all the comments you want as long as they're respectful. Any comments that are left in the comments section on our YouTube page about the anomalies are going to be erased. This tutorial is only to show you features of the programs that we use and how you can use them to analyze what it is that you're looking at. Secondly, I wanted to mention that I am getting over being sick, so kind of like that, I'm going to be periodically muting the mic and so that I'm not coughing in your ear or anything. When I'm muting the mic, at any point during the recording, you're not going to hear anything. It's not your speakers, so don't panic. I'm just muting the mic for a minute. Also, whatever comments that you leave, either here on YouTube or on our Facebook or website, please make sure they're respectful. If you want to offer constructive criticism, we're all for it. We fully support constructive criticism, but any nasty comments are going to be removed. If you have any questions about the programs or the features, please feel free to let us know. Alright, to get started, if you look up here at the top of the screen, you'll see the Kinovea application and the Movie Maker application. These are the two primary programs that we use to analyze. Now, Tracker, I do use it on occasion, but it's a little bit difficult to learn. So if you want to use Tracker, pull it up on YouTube and look at the tutorials, because it can be a bit tricky. With Kinovea, or Kinovea, depending on how you want to pronounce it, it's an actual video analysis program. It is not a video editing program. So if you want one where you can actually edit the video, you're going to need a different program. Movie Maker, I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with. It's a Microsoft product. I'm not sure if Mac users can install and use it, but with it being Microsoft, I'm pretty sure you could probably use it. I don't know. You would have to check into that. But these are the two programs that we use. So to start off, I already had the video pulled up in the program in Kinovea. When you first open it, and you open your file, hang on just a second guys, I got a cough. Okay, I'm sorry. When you first open it and first open your video, this is what it's going to look like. You can use these boxes on the edges to make the screen bigger, and that's about as big as you're going to be able to get it. Now, of course, up here you have your menu with your standard options. I don't really need to use these a whole lot, but you're more than welcome to play around with this. I'm not going to get into these too much because they're pretty self-explanatory. I'm sorry, guys. Down here you have your working zone. You have all of the features that you can use to analyze the video here. You have your play button here, play pause button. Jump to the beginning of the video, jump to the end of the video, and then of course using these two you can go frame by frame. And you can set your frame options as well. You have your speed here, so when you're playing the video you can speed it up or slow it down. This is your slider, so that you can move around in the video. I actually don't use the slider very much. This part of your working zone, if you are just loading a new video and you haven't watched it before, or you're not familiar with the video, this one will come in handy. As you're playing it, if you want to take a special note of where something is in the video, you can use this feature here, which is, cropping the current frame. So you can start the video from there, and then you can also do that with the end. So it'll play just this section of the video. And of course you can use this to adjust which frames you want to put in there. Here you have your start time. Oh, let me show you this real quick. If I wanted to reset the video to the full duration, just click this button here. And it will reset your... Hold on just a second, let me show you. Just like that, very simple. You have your start time here, and you have your duration, which is how long the actual video itself is. Over here you have a couple of standard options. You can save certain images within the video. So let's say there was something in this particular section of the video that I wanted to save. Just click Save Image, change the file name, type, and the location. You can save a series of images. You can save video. You can create a slideshow from the images that you saved, but you have to actually save the images in order to create the slideshow. Otherwise, this is going to pop up. You can also do that with video. You can save a series of key images from a video. Excuse me. Okay, let me get started on... what I'm going to do first is I'm going to play the entire video until about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. There's really not a whole lot going on past that, so I'm not going to bore you with it. This is a video that we got from a client. We're publishing it with his permission. There's no information in it, so if you want to learn more about this video and about the case, we're not going to talk about the full details at all. You can learn a little bit about the video on our Facebook page, so make sure you check that out. But I'm going to go ahead and mute the mic and let this play until about the 2:30 mark. Okay, so that was the video, more or less. One of the things that I want to mention, I'm not sure I mentioned it a second ago, I'm a little absent-minded right now, being sick and all, is this software program has absolutely no sound to it. It is a video analysis program only. So one of the things I want to recommend to you is using multiple programs when analyzing your videos. Primarily because it will help you validate and lost my train of thought. It will help you validate your findings or conclusions. If you're questioning whether or not something's accurate, you can load it into different programs and use different features and options just to verify and validate your conclusions. With this one, there's no sound, like I said, so you're going to need a program that's got sound added to it. One of the things that I've noticed, it's a problem actually across the entire paranormal field, is when you're watching a video with sound, you can get distracted very easily. You're either, unless you're just, very well in tune to it, you can watch the video, but you'll miss, certain EVPs or sound anomalies that may be occurring in it, or vice versa. So I found it's a lot easier to watch a video with and then again without sound. Just makes it a little bit easier to catch things. And another thing I've noticed is that when you're watching a video with just one program, unless you have one of those really expensive all-inclusive ones, is that you have a tendency to miss things. When you're watching something within the video that's capturing your attention, you could miss something else, like that rather bright anomaly that drops down from the top of the ceiling, comes toward the camera and goes off screen. There's actually two other things that are going on at the same time. One at the same time and one just immediately after or just before it goes off screen. And I originally missed it just watching the video by itself here, but I used another program. I used Movie Maker and used a feature in Movie Maker that will actually help you with that, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes, because there's quite a few features in Movie Maker that you can use that will help you identify things that you originally missed. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to go back to the beginning of the video here, and I'm going to go over a couple of these features over here. And the first thing I want to do is I want to go over the text box. So when you click on the text box here, or any of these features for that matter, this bar is going to pop up here. If you want to get rid of it, just minimize it. But for the text box, just click on it and go up to your frame, click on it again, and then you can type. Let's say easy enough. Alright, type it in and then click out of it. You can right click and move it around. You can also right click and make it bigger, make it smaller. I'm sorry, left click. If you right click, your options are going to show up for the different features that you have. You can change the color and the size for this one. The persistence, which the persistence for features just allows you to set how many frames within the video that this will come up. So if you adjust it, so let's say we want to do 50 frames. Each feature will disappear as the video is playing. And when you have, when you have features in your video, this little bar down here is going to show up. Now, if you save it, make sure you save it under a different file name and keep your original video. And then when you come back and play your video, all the features that you've added to the video, the text, the stopwatch, the spotlight, and anything that you've added is going to show up. So let me just get rid of this and I will show you how. When you come down here, you have your X, which will get rid of it completely. Over here, is your comments. I highly recommend for serious researchers, if you are serious about it, take as many notes as you can. It doesn't matter whether or not you think they're stupid or doesn't apply. If you notice something, good science is good observation. So make note of anything and everything. It doesn't matter what it is. And this will save. You can exit out and it'll still be there. Unless you completely close it or quit the program without saving it. So I'm just going to get rid of that and move on to the next one. We have the pencil. I don't use this one a whole lot. I'm sure you can see why. But if I right click, I have my options. Change the color and the size and the persistence. I can also add the comments. Now this one, the human model, you guys with videos of excuse me, with potential apparitions, this actually will come in handy for you. When you click on the human model and then come up to your video, click on the video, it'll pop up for you. And then you can just move the model around where the dots are. You can overlap this onto the actual apparition or person that's in the video. I mean, the potential application for this in your videos is limitless. So, you know, just play around with it because it comes in handy. Comes in real handy, actually. So it's a really good feature. And then if you right click, you can change the different options. Now this one, for all you science and math buffs out there, you'll understand what that is. I'm not going to get into it, but again, you have your comments. Make note of your comments or exit out to get rid of it. You have lines that you can create in the video if you want to underline something or something like that. You have arrows, and again, you can change the various features and look of it however you want it to. You can also add more comments. The markers I don't tend to use a whole lot. You do have your applications for it. You can pretty much use markers for just about anything that you want to use to mark in the video. Pretty self-explanatory stuff. And again, you can exit out or make more comments. Typically what I use markers for is if there's something in the video like, let me see if I can fast forward this just a bit. And it should be, this little bar right here lets you move in your working zone in the video. Moving your slider allows you to do that, and using your mouse scroller will allow you to do that too, to go frame by frame, in case I didn't mention that earlier. I'm going to play the video. I think it's about 1:20 in, so let me go to that. Where you at? Shh. And if you're hearing my son in the background, he's playing his boxing game, so it gets kind of loud. Alright, so this little anomaly, if I wanted to mark it, I could mark how big it is. There's limitless things you can do with the marker, but I really don't need it, so I don't really use it. Now, since I have this one pulled up already, one of the features I want to show you that we use quite a bit is the angle. Now, click on it, and then click on your screen, and then drag, and it'll pop it up for you. You can move it around. You can invert it. Oops, wait a minute. And you can also track the path, but I'll get into that in just a minute. Now, it's going to take you a little bit of practice to get your angles. I know this one goes off screen this way, so changes right about there. So, and then what I'll do is if I want to continue to track the angle, I'll add another one so it helps. So you just got to play around with it. So it comes down at about a 90-degree plus or minus angle and goes back up at about, usually I put it right through the middle because it's easier, 160 give or take off screen. So that kind of gives you an angle with which to work with. See that? So play around with that. It's going to take you a little bit of practice. And again, your comments. Now when you have your comments in here, you can select show comments and it'll just pop it up so you don't have to go down here. Let me get rid of that and move on to the next one. The stopwatch. That's actually a really good one. For all the, again, the science and math buffs out there, a stopwatch will help you when you want to try to calculate the distance and the speed with which the object is moving. So just click on it, click on your frame. Oops, let's make it a little bigger. Right click. Now when you're doing this real quick, you want to make sure that you put the stopwatch at the point where you want it to actually start in the video. So you'll see that it disappears if I move back just one frame. So what I want to do is right click, select start, and then hit play. And you'll see that it takes about, we'll say 4 seconds for it to go off screen from the point that I started it. You can also configure it with your different colors. I'm kind of partial to blue. You can make it bigger. You can make it smaller. You can also label it. So, very cool feature. Let's get rid of that. You can hide it, of course, and delete it. The grid. I don't use the grid very often just because I haven't had a whole lot of time to play around with it. It's good for judging depth perception. And you can move it around. It takes a little bit of practice. I would recommend pulling up YouTube and looking up a tutorial on it so that you can actually learn a little bit more about how to use it. I don't really need to use it at this point, so I haven't really looked into it a whole lot, but that's another good feature to use. Now the spotlight. Let me show you guys the spotlight. This one is actually, you've seen it quite a bit on paranormal shows like Ghost Adventures. The spotlight, whoops, come on, where you at? The spotlight highlights an area within the video while blacking out the rest so that your focus stays on this. You see this in Ghost Adventures a lot. If you leave it just like this, it won't move. It'll just show you where it's at. Good for stationary anomalies that pop up that you want to highlight. But if you want to track the object, if it's moving, right click on your circle, click track path, and then hit play. And it will go as far as the object allows. And you can left click and make it bigger, make it smaller, however you want to do it. Another cool feature. Comments, once again, and of course you have all your font options here too, so don't forget. well, let me show you how to use this. So just type in something for Control A, highlight. If there's something specific that I want to highlight. Oops, that's too bright or too dark. There we go. So if you want to highlight special notes, another good feature. Let me close this. Now the magnifier is one that I use actually a lot more than any of the rest of them, and let me explain why. The magnifier is going to show you things in the video that you would normally see had you not zoomed in. So I'm going to show you, since I'm already on this, a good example with this particular anomaly. What you're going to want to do is click on it, and you got two boxes that are come up. One is you move around. Now if you don't click on the screen and just move your mouse around, it's going to move the box around for you to be able to position it until you put it where you want it and actually click again, and then it's stationary. This one you can move around as well. To make it bigger or smaller, you just grab the edge and move it. And I kind of know that this one has a longer trajectory, so I'm going to make it just a slight bit bigger. Now, on your box, right click, and you have different zoom features. And then let me show you something else too. Let me go back just a little bit. What I'm going to do is make this box a little smaller. And I'm going to center it. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to select track path so that I can see how big it is. I'm sorry, see it in real time. Let me hit play. And it paused. It wants to be a pain. But it will follow the entire object off screen. Let me close it and try again. Now I'm just using my mouse scroller to go back a couple of frames. I find it a little bit easier to do that way. Alright, let me try this again. Track path and then play and see if it will work. Is it going to be a pain? Yep, it's going to be a pain in the butt. That's alright. Alright, so anyway, let me show you a couple things real quick. Find a good vantage point. Alright, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger just because it's easier to see. One of the things that I want you to take special notice of is, you know what, give me just a second because it's being a pain in the rear end. I'm going to reload the video. And go back to it and see if I can't get it to track a little bit better. Come on, where you at? It should be right about there. My son is getting mad. There it is. Alright, let me try this again. Oh, that child is getting so angry at a video game. Maybe it's time to cut him off. Okay. Right click, track path. Let's see if that works. Nope, still wanting to be a pain. Maybe if and I'm still playing around with features and things like that, so it's a little bit tricky. It just takes a little practice. Ah, no, it keeps wanting to capture that. Alright, hold on. Let me go back up here. And I'm going to select it again to take it off. And I'm going to try it from here and see if it'll work. Ugh, nope, it's not wanting to work. I'm going to have to figure out why it's not working there, because it's actually, as many times as I've analyzed this video, it's actually never done that with this, on this particular anomaly. So I'm not quite sure what's going on over here that's causing it to stop. But when you're adding a track path, it will follow it. It may be that the frames are just not working enough for it, so I may have to play around with it and find out why it's doing that, because it's never done that before. It's a new issue. Alright, so let me take the track path off. Now I'm going to go down. Actually, no, I do want to track the path. Just makes it easier. Alright, I want to draw your attention to this particular, maybe there's a closer, stop that, it's not gonna be there, that's good. I don't know if you guys can see that, but on this object it has what's called contrails. Now, if you pull up Google or Bing or any kind of search engine like Dogpile and type in contrails or jet or airplane contrails, what you're going to see is, and actually I have one pulled up, so let me just, there we go. What you're going to see are the contrails coming up behind the jet or the object. Now this will work with just about any object that's flying through the air. They create these contrails when they have some kind of mass to them. On these, I realize this is just from the engines, you know, the jets and the planes engines that's creating the contrails, but this does occur with other aspects like this one. I don't know if you can see that, but what's happening is this jet that's flying through the air is doing so at a rate that's causing a disruption in the atmosphere. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but let me see if I can find a different. Yeah, that's a better one. You can see the disturbances in the atmosphere from these contrails. And this of course right here is just the jet breaking the sound barrier. Now, essentially, that's what you're seeing here. It's contrails coming off the object. Now, because your standard video cameras, for the most part, your night vision, your full spectrum, and things like that, unless you have one with a higher frames per second and a slower shutter speed, you're going to get trailing anyway. So you have to be careful with what you're seeing on trails, and I'll show you the difference between this and actual trailing. Because the longer your shutter speed's open, the more light you're going to capture, the more trailing you're going to get. So this program will help you identify the difference between contrails and actual trailing. Now, if this thing was trailing light, it would be more defined in the middle. And I'm not sure if you guys can see the edges of the contrails there, but let me see if I can get a better image of, there we go, that's a little better. You can see it a little bit here. Now, the next thing I want to point out is this magnifier feature, which I've already mentioned this, but I do want to go into a little bit more detail, is going to allow you to see things in the video that you wouldn't have seen had you not zoomed in. So you're going to be playing with the forward and backwards of the frames and the magnifier quite a bit. If you're not, then you're obviously not doing it right. So, I'm going to show you one other thing before I jump to the features on Movie Maker. Now, if you guys had not already noticed the other two anomalies that are occurring just before and just after this one, then you are experiencing what I had mentioned earlier about your attention being kind of tunnel vision. Now, when I was originally watching this video, I saw this, but what I failed to see was, and I'm just going to highlight with the magnifier the most obvious aspects. Whoops, come on. The most obvious part of it. I don't know if you can see that, but you're going to want to look right here. My attention was directed at the anomaly, the brighter one. Okay, now your eyes are going to be your eyes are biologically designed to capture motion or to pay attention to motion and brighter objects. It's an evolutionary response to the threat of danger. So in watching this, I actually missed what was going on over here initially. And the only reason why I noticed it is because of the feature that I use in Movie Maker, which I'll show you in just a minute. Guys, I'm so sorry for coughing in your ear. Now, I analyzed this video over and over, this particular section of the video, and what I ultimately concluded was whatever this is, where'd it go? I lost it. Actually comes in from about right here. What I noticed it on the other one, it actually comes in up here. And looks like it kind of drops straight down. But you see it right here. It's very faint and then comes down. And you can see the distortion here from the camera where the light's reflecting. A very grayish, smoky, kind of misty appearance. And again, if I had had a high-speed camera at the time this was recorded, which this was not my recording, was recorded with the camera phone, I may have been able to capture a little bit more detail and find out what's going on, because from the looks of it, it's light trailing, but again, if it was smoky, remains to be seen. That would be really the only way to tell, was with a high-speed camera. So, use your mouse, the scroller on your mouse, to move forward and backwards. I find that's the easiest method to use. Now, what I can do is slow it down so maybe you can see it. Do it in slow-mo. And it disappears right about there. Hold on just a second, guys. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to draw your attention to is actually on the other side, and it occurs just after this one pops off screen. And it'll pop in right here. Now, when we have these types of anomalies on our videos, we don't really like to analyze photos. Still frames are really difficult to figure out, so we typically don't use a whole lot of photos. Typically what we'll do is we'll take photos from video rather than actual photos, unless we're using like a still frame camera, you know, for taking multiple screens or multiple shots. So what you're going to want to do is look right here, exactly where the pointer is. And I will rewind it and play it in slow motion without the magnifier so that you can see it first. Alright, let me play it again. A little bit slower. Now it's very faint, and because I was paying attention to the bigger anomaly at first, I didn't even see it. Let me pull up the magnifiers so that you can zoom out just a little bit, make it smaller. It's going to pop in right there. Now I want to see if you guys notice the same thing that we do. Alright, I'm going to play it a little faster. Now, an argument can be made for what I'm about to say either way, and I think in this particular instance, probably using the grid and a little bit of math, we could figure out exactly whether or not this is actually what's going on. But initially what it looks like, or what it looked like, is, let me backtrack. At this point right here, presumably it looks like it's going through the lampshade and coming out the other side. Now, again, if I'd had a high-speed camera and saw what it was doing with a faster frame per second, I could see what was going on at the point from here to here. Because it is, let me go back to it. It starts at minute 27:13 and then minute 27:20, minute 27:33, and then a minute 27:40. So for something like this, I would have needed a high-speed camera with a slower shutter speed to capture exactly what was going on at the time it was recorded. I'm struggling with the idea that it's actually going through the lampshade, because if you look at the position of where the lamp is versus the couch, okay, if it was coming based on its trajectory, if it was coming through the lampshade, I would have assumed that it would have been further back here, and that it would have come out in a different spot. It looks like it might have been just a blip in the reflection, which again I can't confirm or deny. But I think this probably would have amounted to not pareidolia, but it's an optical illusion. Your brain initially registers it as going through the lampshade. But again, I wouldn't have been able to analyze this like this without this feature, without using this zoom. So it's one of the reasons why I like it. Make up your own mind, about what you think is going on. It's an ongoing investigation, so we're still working on this video. I have spent thousands of hours actually going over this video. Let me zoom out just a little bit more so you can see it. And then actually what I'll do is play it full speed. There we go. I really think it's just a blip in the reflection, because it's not, I'm really not seeing I don't know if you guys can see that, but and the feature that I use in Movie Maker helps with this. So I'm going to play the full scene again. Let me go back. Again, I'm just using my scroller. So pay attention to this and this over here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Look at this right here. So you guys can see that. And I'm going to play it from the beginning a little bit slower so that you can see it. So, a very interesting things going on in this video. I'm going to go back to the beginning because I'm going to show you Movie Maker. I already have the file pulled up, but let me show you what I did. Oh, come on. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong one. Tell you what, let me... well, that'll work. Now, I'm not going to save it, so it's not really a big deal, but this is the original video here. One of the features that I use in Movie Maker that really helps, there's two actually. There's the polarized feature and the edge detection feature. Both of these, the polarized is the negative effect, which just reverses the values so that darker images become lighter. And I highly recommend that you watch your videos in these various features because you're going to see a lot more that you didn't see with the normal color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this and show you what the edge detection will do. And then I'm going to let it play for a minute so that you can watch it. Let's see, wait a minute. You know what I'm going to do? Just a minute. Let me go back to it. Because I want to pull up the actual... It may take it a minute to load, but that's alright, because I want it to play with the audio. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Visual Effect and this, and then I'm going to full screen it and let you guys watch a few minutes of the video again so that you can see what's going on and see if you notice anything. And then I'll explain the details of actually what you're looking at. Okay. So, actually, you know what? I'm going to play the rest of it. Let me go back to that so you guys can see that. There. It's pretty much the end of it. So, this edge detection is really good for removing the dark features of the video. Now, it's very basic, and whether or not you choose to use this to present evidence, it's entirely up to you. I will use this in conjunction with Kinovea and put the videos side by side so that I can see them and compare the two different videos. I wouldn't use it individually, by itself, just because it's questionable. It all depends on how you feel about it, but save it as a different file and then open up Kinovea again. And what you're going to want to do is click on two playback screens, which is this button here, and then go to File, Open, and this was the one that I originally had. Now it should be synced, so I'll play it and let you see how it does side by side, and then I'll show you a couple of really cool things that you can do. I'm going to mute it for just a minute. Alright, let me go back to that. Those are some good ones. Now here you'll see the same anomaly in the same frame. If your syncing is off here, it's okay. It's not going to be exact. They're still working on the algorithm for the Kinovea program, so it can have its faults. So just make sure you pay attention to your position when you're trying to sync the videos like this. It's great just for general review and presenting general evidence and seeing basic features and things like that. So it's going to take you a few minutes to play around with it to get it synced right. But it's more or less the same frame. It's just this one is just a bit slower. A couple milliseconds slower. Let me see if I can't speed it. Just nope, that's too far. Ah, you butt. Hold on just a minute. Come on. That's close enough. Let me see if I can't bring this one back a bit. Alright, that's a little closer to the sync. Okay. Now what you can do is you can analyze each video separately using the same features. And one of the things that I want to mention is if you do this effect with this video, your magnifier is going to be a little bit difficult to see. So find something in the video that's a little bit darker, it's reflecting a little bit more light, to see your, I don't know if you guys can see that right there, to find your edges. Also, move your screen and your head to change your perspective when you're looking at this video. I know flat screens, where you at? And see, that's why I said that, because you have to move your head around. There we go. Okay. Sometimes I have to move my head around, or I'll move the screen around depending on what monitor I'm using. I have 3 monitors on my very large desk, so I will jump between monitors to get different perspectives of this particular video. I'm sorry, this particular effect. So let me see if I can zoom in just a bit more. Okay. And then I will do the same thing on this one. Make it just a bit smaller. Alright. So you're basically looking at more or less the same, it's within the same second. Still 47 seconds, off by a few milliseconds, but it's more or less the same. It's more or less the same image. Okay, just making sure they're the same size. So when you're comparing, you can move them side by side and analyze them that way. And if you want to make comments, just click the comment button. See? Very easy to do. Very, very simple. Give me just a minute to get rid of it. There we go. Make your comments about what you're looking at. So for instance, I would note that it's got a very defined edge that's reflecting quite a bit of light. It's apparently relatively transparent because I can see the edge of the entertainment center behind it, although you can't really make it out in this particular frame. I have been able to see the entertainment center edge through this image. Now, I'm going to show you the other one that pops into frame. Let me zoom out a little bit here. And let me find my, there we go. Okay. What I'm looking at is actually this here. You guys can see that there. Let me move this. I'm looking at this kind of smoky, misty anomaly, very interesting anomaly going on. And then when I look at my edge detection, I can see that it's showing up there as well, and it's actually reflecting light back to the camera, so you can see it here. And right there you can see it's reflecting a little bit more light as it comes through. Just do a little back and forth so you can actually see it. Very, very useful tool. Very, very useful. So play around with that. You'll start noticing various patterns. As long as you're making good observations, you'll end up picking up patterns that can range from specific type of anomaly You'll start recognizing anomalies. You'll start being able to identify the difference between what could potentially be defined as dust, what could potentially be defined as a bug, because I've actually uploaded a video of insects, different types of flying insects, using the same methods, and you can actually see, depending on your light source and your camera, you can see wings, you can see legs, you can see the changes in direction. You can make out a lot of feature of bugs. They tend to reflect a lot of light because they have a lot of mass. They're a little bit more dense than, say, your dust particles or your environmental. And you'll start picking up and noticing features like that. Also, one of the things that I wanted to mention to you guys also is this program's actually helped us to poke holes in certain theories that the mainstream paranormal community has when reviewing evidence. One of the biggest things is we're guilty of this too, for us to classify something as potentially paranormal. We originally claimed that it had to emit its own light, or had to give the appearance that it was emitting its own light. Now, I have since then, using these methods, have kind of shied away from that, because when you're recording anything, you have to have a light source. If night vision, full spectrum, regular camera, it doesn't matter what you're recording with, you have to have a light source in order to see something, unless it's emitting its own light. You should be able to see something emitting its own light without a light source. And the only way to see it is if it's actually shining bright. So put a camera in a dark room and see if you get anything. You'll have to excuse that. And we're still debating that. That's part of one of our ongoing experiments. Is you should be able to use a camera in a location that's completely dark without a light source and get something on camera that's emitting its own light. I don't know if I'm not as technologically advanced when it comes to the equipment itself. It's not really my field. I have people on staff that do that. So if there is a way for you to remove the light source from the night vision or the full spectrum, I would recommend trying that just to see what you get. It's very difficult to determine whether or not something's emitting its own light source if you have a light source in the camera. So consider that when you're analyzing your evidence. Now, I assume that if this object had been lots of things going on in the background, guys. Got a million emails and contacts, so excuse the oh my gosh. Wow, okay. Squirrel moment. Alright, when something is emitting its own light, I imagine, well, I hypothesize that this would look a little more solid than it does. There's a lot of factors to consider, what type of light it's emitting, whether it's IR or some other form of light. I'm sitting on my headphone cord. Okay. I imagine that if, say, for example, this was emitting its own light, that this would be a little bit more solid in appearance. The edges would be less defined, and it would look more like this, or say this down here. So we still have to play around with some of the theories, but using a program like this will help you poke holes in theories and ask questions, and analyze your evidence or your experiments or your video with a little bit more accuracy than you would have access to otherwise. So what I'm going to do is show you one other feature. Well, two. If I wanted to swap the videos, I could, using the video swap down here. Now this one, let me just get rid of these magnifiers and show you what this will do. this is a overlap. It superimposes one image on top of another, and can help you with multiple. See, you can tell it's not quite synced up, but that's alright. It's a good feature to have when you want to superimpose one video on top of another, or one image on top of another. Very useful, and I'm still playing around with it, so let's see if I can't get it to... look, there we go. Woohoo! Nope, still not quite synced up, but close enough. Pain in my ear. And I think it's frozen. Yep, froze a little bit. There. Now, if I wanted to capture that image, I could. And you can see that it's superimposing one on top of the other. Very, very useful for you. Oh my goodness. Give me just a second. I'm so sorry, people. Very, very busy bee. So those are just a few of the things that we use when we're analyzing videos. Use multiple programs, use multiple features, play around with them. Do not save them as the original files. There was one other thing I was going to recommend, and I actually forgot what it was. I'm sure I'll think of it as soon as the video ends, but that's alright. I'll just add it to the comments. I think that's just about it. Play around with your... Let me get rid of this. Oh wait, no. There was one other thing I was going to show you. I did do one of the videos in the negative, and I'm going to pull that up for you to watch, because it actually has, I have notes and features saved to it. So I'm going to go past my client and go back just a bit, and then I'm actually going to mute the mic so that you can watch this video, because it has a few things going on that's kind of interesting. But this is the negative effect, the polarized effect that reverses the values. Okay, so some pretty interesting things going on there. This negative polarized feature in Movie Maker is really good for identifying areas of interest, which is what we call anomalies before we're ready to call them or consider them paranormal. We call them AIs before we will call them EVPs or anomalies or anything. But if you have any AIs in your video that are kind of light, you can't really see it, maybe there was not enough light reflected, you can use this feature to do exactly that. Now let me go back to one. This is a good example. No, that's not, because you could actually see that one really bright. Let me go back here. This is a good one. I am going to move this temporarily. In the original video, this particular anomaly, AI, was really, really light and really fast. I noticed it just because of how fast it was moving, but it was really, really light. So I used this option in Movie Maker to reverse the values to get a better view of what it looked like and where it was coming from. So you can see it pops in right there, which is the only spot that I could see it. Now I imagine that it was coming from somewhere else down here and the frames per second just weren't fast enough to catch it. So this is what I would call a pop-in. Now there was another one. Let me move this back. That had the spotlight on it. Where is it? Nope, that's not it. It's further down here. There it is. Now on this one, I highlighted it with a spotlight because it's what I call a pippo, which means it popped in and popped right back out again and didn't really do any movement. It's probably got something to do with the frames per second, but you'll notice right there is where it pops in and it pops back out again. Let me go back to it. So you can see where it pops in and pops back out. And I can highlight it using the spotlight. And then of course, you know, I have my angles in there. Oops, wait a minute, that's just outside it. Let me move, well actually I can invert the angle so you can see it. There we go. So, very, very useful features in these programs, so make sure you play around with them a bit. And this one was moving really fast in the original video. And it was particularly light, so that's why it appears really dark here. Hold on just a second. So your lighter objects are going to appear a little bit darker, your darker objects are going to appear a little bit lighter. Just a really cool feature. Alright, so I think that's just about it. You guys have seen, let me see if I can show you maybe the comments. Nope, I don't have the comments on there. Nope, I haven't actually added my comments to this one yet. But you just click on a section and you know you can pull up the different comments that you made. And I usually, which I don't know why I didn't do this in this video, but I usually do the comments as I'm watching it. That way it just gets a little bit easier to see them. If you wait to make your observations, or if you wait, the stuff that you initially recognize is not really gonna, I'm sorry, I'm distracted listening to my son. Don't wait on making your comments. That's all I'm trying to say. Do your observations at the time you make them, and then, you know, come back later, watch the video over and over again, because you're gonna probably recognize something new every time you watch it. I think that's just about it. So, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to ask. I would be happy to help you in any way that I can. I am still learning these programs, so if I can't answer the question for you, I'll certainly let you know. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and check out our Facebook page.